can help them with their writing as well. We're going to play this activity now. Sound games are important for children to develop emergent reading skills. There are many sound games that you can play. We're going to do one where they're going to take apart words, we're going to put them back together. So we're going to segment the sounds and then blend them. And we're going to do it in a way that departs from the traditional phonics. The children are familiar with many rhymes. They may have already encountered the words of this popular rhyme. So in this example, we can do it for both the sound of the letter B or the letter B. So we'll do it for the letter, and then we'll do the next example for the sound. Okay, and please join in with me. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. What happens when you take B from ball? You get all. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. What happens when you take from it? You get it. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. What happens when you take D from dance? You get? So the children are learning segmenting, and now we're going to practice it by having them put the words back together again using some of the words from this popular rhyme. Though all the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again, words are quite different, as you shall see. The parts joined forces quite easily. What happens when you add s to ong? The sounds come together to make the word song. So we're going to play the next one together. We're going to do it for the one or two more examples. Please join in with me. Though all the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again, words are quite different, as you shall see. The parts joined together forces quite easily. What happens when you add r to ing? The sounds come together to make the word ring. So we get the practice of it. And in having the children do this, even before they meet the words on the page, they're getting practice in those emergent reading skills where they're blending and segmenting sounds in a very playful, joyful way, and it's all done orally. Building a strong foundation from language learning also happens through the read-aloud events and the literature encounters that we give children. And we know from our experiences being in classrooms what the rich gifts that reading aloud to children can provide. But it is one of the cornerstones that I talk about in the book, and it's also key to, and all the literature shows, that it contributes directly to children's emergent literacy development. So both research and practice point to many benefits, like building better vocabularies, and having a better vocabulary makes you a better reader, along with a number of other strengths. But the one I want to quickly bring up is that through Read Aloud, children gain the genres, the texts, and the inspiration or the ideas that can springboard into their own writing and their own storytelling. From teaching and visiting classrooms, we see that there are rich experiences that we can give children that will follow a Read Aloud event, so that these reading experiences may start with book talks and move on to shared reading episodes, to drama and other formats. But in all of these cases, children are responding to literature in creative ways. It's in the Read Aloud events that they use oral language to interact with the text, and here we hear them talk like a book. Being able to talk like a book is going to make them a better writer. So Read Aloud events can lead to storytelling, as the books and the provide the genres, the inspiration, the ideas, and the experiences to become sources for their own stories. It's in telling stories that children learn the language of books, that they discover that the narrative they've encountered, whether they've heard it orally throughout their childhood sitting on the lap of a loved one, or heard a special story that the teachers told, all of these experiences prepare them with the oral language foundations and the literacy skills they need to become storytellers themselves. They start with sharing personal narratives, and we hear this when they run up to us and they tell us what they've done on the weekend, or their autobiographical stories that they write about, and it moves them into telling tales from so many sources. There is such a rich collection of stories that children can tell narratives from. These can evolve from their personal experiences, from their family histories, and from their encounters with books. And in all experiences, it deepens their appreciation and their connections with literature. What I also love about giving children an option to select the stories that they are familiar with or ones that they want to share is that it can tap into the interests of different readers, and we can hook reluctant readers, we can hook those boys, we can also draw in all those audiences so that the boys who are interested in hero tales may choose that, or a reluctant reader may choose to tell a story based on one they've heard, so one based on a very strong oral tradition. There are many, many benefits to storytelling that can support children through their literacy learning and development, their reading success, and their later literacy acquisition. And among these are the oral language skills of presenting to others and learning the techniques of listening and being a respectful audience member. But apart from those and those that lead to greater reading comprehension or sequencing skills, or the models that the literature provides moves them towards becoming an author, the greatest joys that come from sharing literature aloud are in the entertainment, as we see these young boys who are just engaged and so captivated. It instills a love for language. It gives them a strong enjoyment for literature. It stimulates their creativity, their imagination, and it also, what I love about it most is that it fosters this wonderful sense of community and appreciation for all cultures. What are some of the experiences that children can have with storytelling? Well, there are many, from listening to stories to participating in and inviting them to join along by adding a vocal technique like whispering certain parts or a call and response, repeating a line and so forth. But the one I would wish to focus on specifically is building collaborative stories and telling guided stories together. I have an example I'm going to share with you in a moment. But here they can use a story starter, or maybe a toy can inspire them, or maybe they are using a play prop or material. The one that comes up next is where the children, two of them along with the adult steps in, use puppets to guide them in their play. Once upon a time, there was a princess with flowers in her garden. The princess went to see the flowers in the garden. Then she went back into the castle and fell into a deep sleep. Alas, when she woke up, she turned into a flower. She cried and cried and cried, boo-hoo, but she calmed down. Then she went to the witch's house. The witch scared her, so she ran away into the forest. Where did the princess go? The witch found the princess back at the castle, sleeping on her pillow. The witch gathered gifts from the animals and insects in the flower garden to put into a magic potion. The frog gave up a croak, the ladybug gave up a spot, the butterfly gave up part of her wing, the caterpillar gave up her cocoon, the pig gave up mud. Next, the witch turned the potion and gave it to the princess. Suddenly, her face, skin, and hair turned back into a princess. Finally, the princess was human again. The strange thing was, when the princess returned to the palace that night, the king and queen heard her croak when she was asleep. So in the voices of these storytellers, we hear the strong voice of authors and writers as well. Learning and telling stories on their own can guide children to become writers, as we keep talking about. Here, the child has created story maps, and the story maps become the tools for them to record the ideas they wish to share. So as a graphic organizer and for them to reference, you see that this young boy has his story map sitting on his lap so that he can reference it as he tells his story. But what we can also notice is that the story map can then become the writing tool for them creating and publishing their own stories. The experience of telling stories and sharing tales can move children to becoming authors themselves. I'm going to share with you a story that a young girl wrote following all of these experiences, and you will hear the echoes of this child perhaps playing, this child perhaps listening to stories, this child playing with words, and this child becoming a writer. It's called The Mouse Farmer and the Cow That Would Not Milk. Once upon a time, there was a cow that would not milk. This was no ordinary cow. It could lay eggs, make milk, and roll in mud. One day the farmer went to milk her. The cow was looking sick. Moo, moo, she moaned. The farmer tried to milk her, but she still did not feel better. He told the other animals. They started to make gifts for her. They were beautiful. Then the farmer figured out the problem. An egg got stuck in her udder. So he called the veterinarian. She came and made the cow feel all better. So what I tried to share this morning with you in our brief time together was that by building on the experiences that are a natural part of childhood, like play, oral language practices, wordplay, storytelling, read aloud and literature encounters, young people can develop a strong foundation for learning that helps them grow into sophisticated language users, readers, and writers. Thank you, everybody.